Super happy and proud to be such a big part of the Electric Vehicle Association, and it's great to have everybody here to celebrate not just the successes of EVs over the last 10 years, but also some of our progress as we push towards production. I was going to give you a little intro to Aptera. I'm sure there's probably a lot of questions, so we'll save most of the time for questions. But we also have some hand around so you can kind of get a feel for the work we're doing here. For those of you that don't know, probably most of you have at least heard of Aptera. Maybe you don't know what we're all about. But Aptera exists to provide the world the most efficient transportation. We started with really the math equation of where does energy go in people's day-to-day transportation. And we found that over 60% of your fuel at highway speeds can go to just pushing air out of the way of a typical SUV or sedan. So if you can really optimize your vehicle for aerodynamics, you're going to get much better fuel economy. The second biggest loss is weight. It takes energy to deform your tire in every rotation. If you can have a lightweight vehicle, even better. And the last is really the efficiency of your powertrain. So combustion engines, we all know, are garbage when it comes to converting energy into power to your wheels. You only get like 25% of the energy out of the gasoline you burn to your wheels. So it's a shame to go through all that effort to dig up dinosaur bones and compressed biomatter that could be so useful in plastics and other areas, and just burn it in combustion engines and let it go off into the sky and never to be received again. Electric motors, obviously much more efficient. We take that to the next realm. Typical EVs get maybe 80% of their power from the wall to the wheels. We get closer to 90%. So you put all that together, and you get something that looks more like a fish than a box truck, and something that gets extreme efficiency. And because everybody here knows the vernacular, we use less than 100 watt-hours per mile. So it's when compared to a Hummer EV, we're burning a sixth of the energy per mile. And when it's compared to some of you eco-milers out here, it's a third to half of what you guys are using on the best day in the world. We wanted to show you a little bit about how the vehicle is coming together from an architecture perspective and engineering perspective. We've been doing a lot of this work in Italy. It's our carbon fiber SMC chassis, how the parts come together. An interesting thing is we only use 6 major parts for a body structure. So there's a tub, there's a top, there's 2 sides, and some liner pieces, and that's the whole body structure for this vehicle. When we last tested this vehicle through FMVSS crash test, we had the highest roof crush strength of any passenger car on the road, and it's only gotten better with our work in Italy. So it's a fabulous piece of engineering to see all these things come together, and this, what you see on the screen, will arrive here in just a couple of months, so we can finish up our first production intent builds and be able to drive people around on what is a fabulous new entry into the Electric Vehicle Association. This is the actual shop in Italy, an amazing place where some of the world's most premier supercars are made. I don't want to rattle off the names, but if you've seen something pretty in a magazine that goes fast, it probably went, at least part of it, through one of CPC's shops in Italy. It's on one pack, and then if you can use a different size cell for those packs, it makes everything much easier. So we use a 70 millimeter tall cell here for the
2170 cells.
We just take some of the cells out for the 250 mile range version, and for the 600 and 1000 mile range version, we use taller cells. So the cells that are going around are 70 millimeters tall, they go to a 90 millimeter tall, and then 120 millimeters, but it is. And it's a lot like the glass on your cell phone. It's super, super tough, super scratch resistant, but surprisingly flexible. That means it's also very lightweight, but you can hold it up by just one hand, one finger, if I could balance more properly like a basketball star. But we've made amazing progress on this, and obviously one of the biggest benefits of having the most efficient vehicle platform ever is that you can add very little solar to it and still get very useful charge range out of it. So we add 192 solar cells onto the body surface of our vehicle. That gets you about 700 watts of charging power in optimal sun. And in Southern California, you can get over 40 miles a day of free power just from the amazing nuclear generator in the sky that we have here. That's completely free. And in total, in California, 11,000 miles a
You
year.
can see some of the hardware is embedded in here.
No need to plug it in. 402 charge voltage, 350 pounds. A little description on kind of how we're evolving here. In Italy, we're building our body structure. We're building the frame that's under the body structure that holds our suspension. The Aptera is really built from the battery out. So the battery is the heaviest part of the vehicle. We use a structural battery that then holds the front and rear suspension, and then we put a pretty beautiful carbon fiber body structure on top of that. That work for the frame and the body will happen in Italy to start, and they will ship those over to us, probably as full rollers, with wheels. So once it gets here, we'll be able to put the battery back in, the solar on, install some of our point of use controllers, which is our digital I/O system around the vehicle, and obviously our control systems, software, and stuff. In Korea is where we're building our initial battery packs, and those will be shipped here, but eventually those battery packs will be the key here. The battery packs will come off the line, the heaviest unit, and that is really the first station of our assembly. So station 1 is battery pack. Battery pack goes in frame. Station 2, body goes on the vehicle after that, and you build it versus the vehicle. There's a great simulation on this screen behind me here.
How and where are the crash forces distributed across the vehicle?
So we have a big crumple zone in the front. We actually have over 650 millimeters of crushable space in the front of the vehicle. You get a 5-star crash rating in the US, you need about 550 millimeters of crushable space. We actually had the highest root crush strength of any passenger car on the road when we last tested it. It's a rollover strength of space. We got a big boxed out section by your H point. Most side impact injuries come at your hip. So we did an extra job protecting that, and obviously expect to do really well on the full frontal and offset frontal crash test. The offset frontal, in particular, basically is a glancing blow that kind of takes the wheel off. So we're very unique in that we have a lot of mass outside of the vehicle, where other companies have to account for the mass inside the vehicle. So offset frontal and full frontal crash test have simulated very well, and the simulations are very good now. So we have gone through all those testing before, but it was with the previous iteration of this vehicle. So the body structure was a good bit different. So we have to retest now, and we probably won't get to that testing until March or April. But we will publish.
That's 5 vehicles that they're going to get crash tested?
That's a good question. I think we're down to 4 now. The cool thing is that if you don't obliterate the vehicle in one crash test, you can use it for another crash test. So like the full frontal crash test, we don't think it's going to damage the vehicle very much. So then you can actually use it for the side impact too. So
It's an independent company, right?
yeah, an independent third-party company will take it through the test and do all that. It's not cheap, but.
And how about pedestrian?
Yeah, pedestrian crash is mostly in the very pointy nose part of it. Our vehicle is very low. A lot of what happens is the occupant slams their head against the hood. When you have an engine that's very high in the hood, there's no way for it to brush down, so you bounce off the engine basically. We don't have any of that in the front of our vehicle, so pedestrian safety is quite unique.
More of a glancing blow.
Well, more of a bouncy blow. So instead of hitting something hard, it's relatively soft.
Elastic collision.
Strength and weight question about carbon fibers, handling that little piece that's so powerful.
Yes, yes.
If that was all like steel or whatever, how much like weight and what's the?
It's about 9 times stronger than steel by weight, but it really is how you design a composite part. Composite parts do good in boxed sections. So really, it's more often about the geometry of the part and the actual material qualities of the part. And historically, automotive companies have tried to shift from aluminum to steel, but they just tried to replicate the steel part with some other material. And that's not the way to do it. If you're going to design a carbon fiber vehicle, you have to design the chassis from the ground up, and it has to be very unique for the material properties. The great thing about fibers, you can transmit load from one area to another area of the vehicle. Steel and aluminum, they just deform. So there are benefits to steel and aluminum for sure, but for our chassis, 9 times stronger than steel sounds great.
And follow up on that quickly, what kind of chemical environmental impact from creating That carbon fiber?
The cool thing about the carbon fibers is very little waste. There's less than 0.5% of trimmings when you actually produce the part. There's a little flashing that comes out the side. Like when you injection mold a part, you like a little slag on the side. So they cut that off, and you can actually recycle that material up to 5 times back into a structural part. So from an environmental perspective, it's a quality material. You use almost all of it, but you're not allowed to recycle. You know, in steel and aluminum, and even the old hand-laid composites, you know, the waste can be up to 30% of your material. So, you know, we hate for, you know, any material that goes into the Aptera to be wasted. The cool thing about an Aptera, because it uses so little energy per mile and it's so little weight, what you start with from a transportation device has already impacted the earth much, much less. Our battery pack is 1/4 of the average battery pack. You know, a 25 kilowatt hour battery pack is going to get you 250 plus miles of range. So when you do that, you use much less material to create your vehicle from the start. You're just starting in a much better place for the environment, and every mile you drive, you're using less energy. So, is there?
In the event, in the unlikely horrifying event of a crash, where the VINC parts are smashed up, does Aptera have plans for accepting those parts back for recycling?
Yes, any of those parts can be decommissioned and put back into the hopper for more parts.
So you're going to have someplace.
It'll be part of our service plan. So you know, if a part of the vehicle is damaged beyond repair, it would go to that service location. We would send out a new part, and we would give them whatever means to send back the old parts.
Okay, as a potential second owner of the motorcycle, I have several questions. One, like what's happening in Chicago, they couldn't start production. Is there something that if you happen to be up in the mountains one weekend where it snows and you have your Aptera there, is there something to protect it, keep it warm so that you can start the engine, or would it fail?
Yeah, you know, we use a very similar chemistry to Tesla in our batteries. So, you know, those batteries are still, you know, subject to extreme cold weather difficulties. But the way we heat our batteries, you know, is such that we can precondition the battery before charging and hopefully prevent any of that cold weather stuff. You know, the great thing about a body structure that's insulative is it's much better to heat and cool the interior of the vehicle. So if you have steel or aluminum, everything's a heat sink around you, everything, you know, transmits the heat outward. But when you're driving around basically a thermos, it's much easier to keep a cool vehicle. So get your battery pack. Yeah.
Is your company accepting anybody to be an ambassador for your vehicle before you become the IPO?
Oh, we are. Talk to Audra back here. She handles our ambassador program. We have over 1,000 ambassadors now around the world. They're telling our story. They're telling all the great things about us, and they're getting people to invest. We've done the largest crowdfunding in history now. We have over 16,000 investors in Aptera, and you know, average investment is $4,700. It's amazing to have so many people that have really bought into, you know, the idea of solar mobility for all, and it's really cool to see so much support from ambassadors. So please talk about it.
And will this vehicle be available for the vertically challenged folks?
Yes, great for short people.
Hey, so Chris, it's great to see you. The last time I saw you in an EVA ASD meeting was 2008.
Oh.
After you explained the Paul Wilbur debacle.
Yes, sir.
A very drastic debacle. Very disappointing. So when you guys came back to life, it was fantastic. And I applaud you. I applaud you because that was so dramatic. And it's so exciting to be in this building after all that. So having gone through all that, where you are now, how do you feel? I mean, how's your outlook now?
Oh, I mean, thank you for the kind words. It's humbling, but it has been a long road for Aptera. For those of you that don't know, we had Aptera back in 2005, 2006. We had a good bit of fanfare, but I ended up leaving the company, and the company ended up liquidating in 2011. So it wasn't until 2019 that Steve and I were able to reacquire the company and restart Aptera. But now we have control of the cap table. So Steve and I make the decisions for the future of the company, and it feels so great to have inspired. You know, we have over 1 million people on social media following us now. We have 110,000 people on the newsletter list. the groundswell of support is just amazing. And I think it's because, we started from a very virtuous place. We think the world can be a better place through cleaner, greener transportation, and we're trying to just lead the charge, so. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Can you comment on development or production of the chassis itself?
Yeah, in Italy, they're used to making these crazy carbon fiber unibody chassis. We consider it a monocoque chassis, much more like an aircraft. This aircraft is a monocoque structure. But they have lots of great forging capabilities in Italy too. So forging a lot of pieces for the frame and the suspension and all that's going to happen in Italy, and then come to us basically as one unit. A rolling chassis is what they call it. But basically, the body structure. We fill anything with glass, the doors, the seals, the hinges, the suspension, the wheels, and then we'll get it here in that form, and then have to put in the battery pack, put in the solar, and put in the electronics. That's the name of the game, is get that whole body structure from Italy, and then bring it here and assemble it. Yes, sir.
You mentioned earlier preconditioning for the battery. Are you guys going to have some system in place for like route planning, so like
Oh, yeah.
from truck to trucker?
Most right.
So the precondition will be automatic?
The precondition will be automatic if you select a charging point, yes. Or you can do it from the app. We do hope to have an app in probably a couple months. But we're going to unveil the app first, so we can get a lot of people testing the app. You can download it on your phone. You can have a virtual vehicle that you can go to, your vehicle. Yeah, so hope to get a lot of feedback from that. But.
Yeah, on repairability, insurance rates are high on Teslas because of their habit of getting totaled relative to minor accidents. Is that going to be addressed both with the insurance industry and in the service centers?
It's a great question, kind of a softball. We're a right to repair company, so years ago people got really mad at Apple because you can't replace the battery in your phone. Then it became apparent, hold on, I buy these things, but I don't really control the long-term future of these things. I can't change my battery, can't do anything. We are not those guys. We are a right to repair company, which means that when you buy an Aptera, we give you all the information and parts resources you need to keep that Aptera on the road. So if you call us, we're going to send you a part within 24 hours of you needing one, and we're going to give you the information on how to fix it. So if you're in the middle of Australia and you're buying, not anywhere close to an Aptera service facility, you can still go to a local mechanic or a local service shop, or you can do the repair yourself, which I've had problems with my Tesla. And Tesla has amazing service in Southern California, in my opinion. But even then, you got to schedule an appointment, you got to leave a window for a guy to come. I'm like, well, shit, this is a window regulator. I could have replaced that in 5 minutes. Yet I had to slate out 3 hours of my day to wait for the service guy. Tremendous service in general regards, but for a lot of little things, you can imagine that maybe you just want to do yourself. In the bigger picture, impact resistance and stuff like that, I don't know if you remember a vehicle called the Saturn. They had SMC doors, and it wasn't carbon fiber SMC, it was glass SMC. But there was commercials of people hitting with a sledgehammer and shopping cars, and you get in minor accidents, and nothing would happen to the Saturn of the durability and the toughness of the material and such. That's the case it will be in. You'll have to get into something pretty extreme to damage a part. But if you do damage a part, we have a very modular vehicle build. So everything's built in modules. So, worst case scenarios, you're literally replacing the monocoque structure of the vehicle. That monocoque structure is, less than $10,000. So, if you take the front quarter off of a regular vehicle, you're probably in the $15,000 to $20,000 of damage range, which is why electric vehicles get totaled so much. You can rear quarter, front quarter, you name it. If you damage a quarter of the vehicle, they don't put on a new quarter. The cool thing about our vehicles, everything's lightweight. In almost any mechanic shop, you can take out all the parts yourself with very light equipment and actually fix the Aptera very quickly and easily. So we're proud to be a right to repair company, and we're proud to kind of have a vehicle that has the toughness and durability to stand up, but also if it is broken, the modularity to be able to fix it quicker. Hope that answers your question. Long-winded answer to you. Yes, this is considered a motorcycle. So 3 wheels in America gets you in the HOV lane for free and classified as a motorcycle, so we can use this really small plate in the back. But because it has 3 wheels, you don't have to have a motorcycle license. And because it has something over your head, you don't have to wear a helmet.
So you talked about how the body manufacturing and the battery assembly is coming to the U.S. I think you mentioned some time ago that Alape also might be coming to the US?
Uh-huh. Yeah, a lot of them makes our in-wheel motors. They're built in Slovenia now. They have amazing technologies. We also have a plan to build those motors here in the US too. It's a little simpler than a lot of the other stuff we're seeing as a challenge, but you know, they're from that green pole to that green pole, we can build 20,000 motors a year, so it's not a lot of space. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, practical question: if you get a flattened back, how do you change it?
The side panel of the rear wheel strip comes off, so you can change the rear tire. And these front guys, they actually flip up like Lamborghini doors, so you can get to those tires. So if you have to put air in them, or if you have to change the whole tire, you just flip that outside cover. The cool thing about the front wheel pans is these front and rear parts are fungible, they're foam, so you can take them off if you want to go off-roading. Also, if you damage them, they're only, $30 parts. So, that there's something you can upgrade over time. You probably make them pink or whatever too if you want to add some accents. Yes, sir.
How will wheel alignment work? Is it something that will just be in an Aptera service? Or?
Yeah, a typical wheel alignment shop can do the wheel alignment. It's adjusted, typical tie rod, just like older vehicles. But there will be some special instructions on how to set the rear wheel. So if you go to a four-wheel shop, they already know where to set the rear wheel set aside. You're going to take this to somebody and you're like, what's your fan pail? So,
Will it take tire tables if we're going over the Sierra?
Well, yeah.
Will the horsepower vary with the battery pack size, and also what about 48 volts?
Yes, the battery pack size does make the vehicle behave a little different. The heavier battery packs aren't as quick, 0 to 60, those types of things. We have to have different spring rates and stuff for the bigger battery packs. So it's not a different horsepower, but it is a different feel for the vehicle, if that makes sense. We don't change the drivetrain for the bigger battery packs. Just get the bigger battery pack. So you get more range, but a little less performance. He also asked about the 48-volt system. Tesla's done really cool thing. They've introduced a 48-volt power bus to the low voltage side. That reduces the copper in your system, which is great. We've already gone to a point-of-use controller system, so we have little control boards all over the vehicle. So our wiring harness only consists of a power, ground, and communication wire. So we already have wiring harnesses that's 30% of the weight of a typical EV wiring harness on the low voltage side. So the bang for our buck to go to 48 volts isn't as much. And Elon has lots of cash, so he can pay to develop 48-volt devices, but there's not a supply chain for 48-volt devices right now. So we can't go out to a supplier and say, hey, you got a 48-volt thing? They're like, no, that's all. Or pay us a lot of money to develop it. So we're not in the 48-volt game, but we hope that the industry goes there, and then one day we can be there. Way in the back, sorry to be ignoring people, but.
Can you talk a little bit about your current thinking about temperature management of the battery in the cabin? And do you do temperature management of the battery while the vehicle is off?
We do cold management when the battery's off. So if it's a really cold day, we'll keep the battery pack above freezing. Obviously, you don't want to use too much power to do that. Our battery system's adiabatic, so we try to use as little heat as possible to just keep it above freezing. But we have systems in place to manage that. And in the interior, you can precondition it with your app. So if it's a cold day, you can warm it up before you get to the vehicle.
What about in hot temperatures where you need to keep the battery cool?
Our particular batteries don't seem to have a problem with the heat, at least the heat on Earth, if we end up at Mars, maybe. But the typical temperatures that you see, hot tarmac up to 170 degrees, our particular chemistry and the way we design our battery pack, 170 degrees is no problem. So.
You mentioned a statistic of 6 people for 100,000 parts neighborhood, which is pretty jaw-dropping statistic for manufacturers. So to actually put the car together here, how many people are actually in the assembly line, and how does that compare to current?
He was asking about building the vehicle here. How many people does it take here to build 20,000 vehicles a year? And it's about 30 people on the assembly line and about 50 people managing inventory and actually putting them on trucks and stuff like that.
How does that compare with current manufacturing?
We're probably about a fifth of the manpower of another 20,000 vehicle a year shop. So one more question. That'd be a good one. That'd be a good one. You got the best question.
So some of us have started a letter writing campaign. We've written to Congress people, we've written to Congress members who sit on the SEC. Besides writing those letters, what else can we do to help Aptera earn the $7,500 tax credit?
Oh, thanks so much for the question. I would love for the Aptera to exist in a regime where we can get the $7,500 federal tax credit. We are three wheels. We're considered a motorcycle, so we are outside of that regime. The state of California still has some cool incentives. There's even cooler incentives up in Oregon. But yeah, if you have connections to political representatives or anyone in the community that might have influence, please share our story. You know, the more Aptera followers and fans we have, the better our life is going to be. But you know, you can never overestimate our government's ability to fail on making the world a better place. You know, politicians aren't in the game for long-term strategies, and we're in it for the long term. We want to. I want my grandkids to inherit a better planet, and this is the way to do it. So yes, if you have any influence, please please spread the word. But I appreciate everybody's time and hearing and learning about Aptera. Our website is aptera.us, so if you want to hit that up to see what we're all about. Let me know if you guys, I'm sure we have an EVA Association code, so you guys can get 30% off of your pre-order if you want to pre-order. But I'm so happy to host you guys, and I know you'll have a fabulous day with us. So if you see me around, feel free to ask me any questions that you guys have. Thank you so much.